Welcome back, everyone, to LCS Academy. We just finished up with the matchup with CLG versus 100 Thieves, but we're ready to move on now with Evil Geniuses versus FlyQuest.
Can't wait to see how these teams are going to be going up against each other. We are basically towards the top of the standings. There's going to be a lot of movement between these two teams based on how this actually goes with 2 games on the line. There's only 1 game separating these two teams so far, and if one of these teams is able to take a clean 2-0, it's definitely going to secure them, maybe not secure, but put them in commanding position to make their way to playoffs.
I feel like a team that needs that more than anyone else is going to be Evil Geniuses. They're a squad that has kind of no defeats, but are still not at the top of the standings because most of those games are all tie. In fact, looking over at their record, they have 2 2-0 victories, Team Liquid and Dignitas. Everything else this season has been ties.
So the real question then is going to be, like, how can they actually do that? Is this a consistency issue? Are they just not strong enough? I mean, we've seen that they have a lot of tools to play with. Contracts just went up to LCS and had a 6-0-12 performance. Oh my gosh, I was about to sneeze. 6-0-12 performance up against TSM on Diana, and we've always known that El Contracto was a very, very powerful player, and he's really been able to show it now up into LCS. Now he's going to be coming back down towards Academy, and we'll see if he can repeat the results.
Well, what I'm most curious about when it comes to Evil Geniuses roster, less about contracts, more about JoJo. This guy has been a prodigy in the scene for quite some time. He exploded on, and now is going through the whole developmental process. He's with Evil Geniuses Academy. He's been playing loads of Akali so far in the split, so I'm excited to see what he can bring.
He definitely used to be playing a lot of different things, right? We typically think of JoJo as this big Rise player, but he hasn't necessarily had an opportunity to play that as much recently because it's just not quite as strong in the meta. That doesn't mean we're not going to see it or ever, right? It is still something you always got to pay attention to, as JoJo Pyun does have an opportunity to play it, but the other parts of his team really feel like a lot of veterans of the scene, as they've been having a lot of opportunity to play in the amateur scene for a long time. They're really making JoJo Pyun really look very, very strong, as he's going to be going up against Triple here today.
And that brings us to the opposite side of the rift with FlyQuest Academy. This is a pretty star-studded roster when it comes to Oceanic and Academy and amateur talent. NXI had an absolutely amazing showing over at Scouting Grounds. He was Scouting Grounds MVP, did get picked up by FlyQuest. Diamond is a hell of a veteran. He's been playing in the pro scene since 2012. I remember a quote with him in an interview where he's just like, "I don't care. I just show up and play." Triple, especially week to week, had some of the best KDAs early on in this split, so this is a very packed roster for FlyQuest Academy. They have good results coming, they just need to push it that extra step further.
And as you said, they've already been looking quite good throughout the regular season. They have been able to pick up a number of wins. They are currently sitting just 1 loss behind, and I guess now 1 win after 100 Thieves did just take down CLG up against the top team in the league. So FlyQuest looking like they are going to continue a lot of strong play here now that we're moving into Academy. And the real question is going to be, how are they going to be able to differentiate themselves up against Evil Geniuses? I believe the last time these guys played against each other, they did tie, they actually haven't played each other so far during this split, so it is going to be a big test, as both of them are going to have an opportunity to show the very different styles that these two teams like to go for.
And I gotta ask, what matchup gets you the most excited? Because personally for me, it's gonna be JoJo Pyun versus Triple. It's a soft place in my heart. They're both superstar players. They've both had standout performances. I'm excited to see what that lane brings.
I'm really having to look at contracts versus NXI, right? Because it is kind of the difference between this veteran and this rookie in the scene. Contracts has been around for quite a long time, had opportunities to play with teams that went to Worlds with Cloud9, but NXI, relatively new, coming mostly out of solo queue, and he's very quickly jumped up to Academy, and he needs to prove that he belongs here, and he's been doing a fantastic job of that so far, but this might be one of the final bosses of Academy. If he can hang with contracts, he can hang with anybody.
So already getting to the draft now. Resh and Lucian going to be taken away from the Rift. Lulu and Gwen going to be banned away as well. So far, so standard. Still have some very strong picks up, like the Lee Sin, like the Akali that we've been talking with JoJo. Viego gets taken away. Rumble's still available as well. So curious to see what's going to be the priority here between these two teams.
The Xin is still available, right? We see a lot of different opportunities, and I feel like if you pick Rumble here, like the champion is still very playable, but with Xin available on the other side, it does become rather dangerous. And instead, we're going to be opting into the more supportive style coming out from Evil Genius's Academy. This is something that Tony has played, but it's not super exciting in his hands historically. He's just...
Is it exciting in anyone's hands?
They're very... Fair.
It's karma.
Right, they're like... There are definitely people who look really good on the champion, and there are others who just, you know, they do their job. And Tony Top is definitely a player who does his job when he has his hands on this champion.
So FlyQuest happy to respond with the Xin, taking that off the board right away. Still lots of powerful picks left up. Yuumi, there's no way in hell that gets locked in, but Kalista makes a little bit more sense. Tomo happy to grab that.
It is a very early game focused team coming up from FlyQuest Academy. Kalista really struggles later on due to the preponderance of crowd control that exists, as well as the increased damage and range that they have to play up against. You know, as you have to stay in the enemy team as a range champion, you don't have the base stats, the base HP or armor to really do that as effectively. And it was something like Ezreal, which is going to have the ranges like poke at at Tomo's Kalista over and over again. It becomes much more difficult for Tomo to actually play this champion.
So, EG Academy, happy to go with the Ezreal. You do get a lot of safety having that Ezreal, of course, with the Arcane Shift. Flash to basically just top it off. You get two ways to really escape here. But you get that mid-game spike as well, which is oh so juicy once you start landing those Mystic shots. But Evil Genius's Academy, they're locking in Trundle.
Trundle, we have been seeing this a little bit more with the rise of Divine Sunder. I actually had a long discussion with a couple of coaches about whether or not this champion was viable beforehand, and most of the time they were saying not really. The fact that you can build Sheen is actually the difference maker in a lot of the duels that this champion goes for against champions like Udyr and the Xin, who are just kind of known for being able to stat check you rather consistently. And now that Trundle has access to Divine Sunder, he's going to be much more effective going up against NXI. Actually, NXI on the Xin.
Yeah, I mean, you can use the ultimate on NXI just to weaken him up when we get those 1v1 Xin. Already a great duelist, but the bigger priority would be the Nautilus or any other tanky figure you can find. Turn him into a beefy boy and really start to work away with that Sheen as we head into the second part of the draft. Alistair, taking away.
The big thing that I want to pay attention to is how teams are going to be playing around this Kalista. Right now, you have a team that wants to go in very hard on FlyQuest, right, with both the Xin and the Nautilus being able to create this front line, lock people down in order to get plenty of spears in them, and then you rend them all out. Right, on the other hand, you have to remember that Kalista is the only AD carry in the game who loses attack speed when you lose movement speed, and that means that things like Karma and the Trundle very effective against this champion in particular, because you limit their mobility, you limit their ability to do damage at the same time. You don't need the same kind of high quality knock-up, stun, crowd control that a lot of other teams typically go for.
So the Renekton ban comes out. Curious bound to see. I want to see what's going to come in the mid lane for FlyQuest, because normally when we do see triple play, he likes to go for the AD mid laners. The Nocturne already banned away. The Renekton already banned away. Lucian already banned away. A lot of triple champions have been banned out that run that type of AD physical playstyle that we've seen from him.
I think it's possible we'll see more of it. Instead, it's just going to be a pivot. The Azira obviously still a mid lane ban. I think the only time I've seen this played elsewhere, I think Winterer in the LCO played at top lane, and it did not... It was not the reason why they lost, shall we say. But now, it does mean that we are going to be going back to something a little bit more standard. Victor... A lot of people have criticized this champion as not having the same kind of power that it did a couple patches ago due to the overabundance of things like Akali and other very mobile champions. But with this kind of roster that EGA put together, they don't have a whole lot of dive. They don't have a whole lot of that kind of ability that they can just ignore the gravity field.
So, still waiting for the pick to come out of Evil Genius's Academy. I mean, with their comp so far, you got a lot of defense, you got a lot of safety, you got a lot of ways you can really play this map, and to round it off with the Braum, you do get a lot of distance when you land those winner's bites, and able to pair that up with the Mystic shots of Ezreal to get those early stuns in. One more pick to come out of Evil Genius's. It's not going to be Teemo. No way.
Unfortunately.
Don't even worry about that one. You know, hold your breath on that one. The one thing that does concern me about Evil Genius's Academy is they got some good base damage. They don't have good sustained damage for when we do get into those deeper mid-game team fights. I mean, you do have Ezreal, but everyone else is pretty low damage.
Yeah, and this is another one of the big JoJo champions that we've been seeing quite often. The Silas and the Rise, some of his most played during spring, and he was looking quite strong on both of them. It is worth noting, though, that you can also throw this up top lane. It's not something that we've been seeing a lot of Tony top play, but is definitely an option for them. And, ooh, we are going to be seeing Kumo picking up the Dr. Mundo for himself. So the second time in a row, I wonder if he's also first timing it.
I would highly doubt it that we just have like this trend of top laners and Academy first timing champions on Academy streams just for the memes, but you never know. There could be something more going on with the Mundo pick, and hey, I've been loving it, so I got no way to doubt it. But it does give a very, very beefy front line for FlyQuest Academy, having the disruption of the Mundo just running around reaping havoc, as well as the Nautilus with the depth charge, this zone control you get out of triple, and being able to place the gravity field, as well as some decent zone control that comes out of Xin Zhao thanks to his, I believe it's called Crescent Guard, Crescent Strike, his ultimate. He blocks a lot of that damage that comes in. The only thing that you could like slightly worry about is the short range of Callista plus the slows you were talking about, but overall there is an identity with this composition over on FlyQuest.
There is, and I'm kind of torn on how I feel about how Evil Geniuses is going to be interacting with the Mundo and the Xin Zhao in particular, right? Because they are a little bit low damage coming out from Evil Geniuses, but they do have a couple of tools to kind of circumvent that, right? They don't allow people to be super, super tanky. Trundle takes a lot of HP and resistances away from whoever he chooses to use his ultimate on, which is very good against Dr. Mundo, right? He built a lot of tank. He's like, thanks for that. I'm going to use that for myself now. So Mundo is not going to be as tanky during these fights as we might initially expect. But at the same time, you can also steal this ultimate. You have Jojo Pyun on the Silas. He can take away the Dr. Mundo ultimate. He can take away the Xin Zhao ultimate and take these fights really, really long throughout the entire fight and potentially fight fire with fires. Silas has so much sustain in his own kit as we go through this entire game that he might be able to turn things on its head up against the Dr. Mundo and the Xin Zhao.
So once again, we are now on the Rift. Evil Geniuses versus FlyQuest. Evil Geniuses, no victories, no defeats, excuse me, just yet. FlyQuest looking to change that up, being a second-place team, really controlling that top end of the bracket. So we'll see who's able to turn this one around. I really see potential in both of these squads. Like the last game we had was that whole 10th versus 1st, David versus Goliath. This one is sure to be at least what we got from the first series. Actual performance-wise, I kind of expected to pop up here as well.
Definitely lots of options for them to try and take it to them, but we're also seeing another, what looks like an invade coming out from Evil Geniuses. We saw how effective this was in Game 2 of 100 Thieves versus CLG, but it is getting spotted out. The pings are coming through, and NXI knows he needs to leave.
Fails right away. Evil Geniuses will get control of this side of the map. Be able to grab the red buff, get the counter jungly going. See how NXI is able to respond to it. NXI has been historically a really good jungler. There's a reason why he was MVP for Scouting Grounds. He shows up, and he's someone who is developing. He's someone I'm like kind of excited to see if he ever does make his way towards the LCS rosters.
See if he ever makes it. The big difference here is that Contracts is currently in the mid lane as they're just chasing down triple. Does force a flash out of the Victor. But the big difference now is that NXI knows that Contracts was going for the invade, whereas we saw from Keel that he didn't know about it. So he didn't have the information to play with, and it's part of why the jungle situation got so bad. But Contracts and NXI both know exactly what's going on. They know that NXI is currently chilling over on the blue side of his own map, and that just means that Contracts looking to pick up both red buffs and potentially look for a fight. We see a bit of a replay. I don't imagine there's too much to see here. Pillar goes down, triple is forced to flash, and yeah, just about that. It is going to be giving Jojo Pyun a little bit more freedom in this lane to play aggressively, but ultimately a fairly stock standard set of affairs.
Yeah, nothing too wild to come out just yet. Contract's now pathing over towards his blue buff, and has a lot of priority towards that side of the map as well, but again, it's a Mundo. He's a very tanky boy. It's very hard to get through him if you are going to set up a play on that side. So I can imagine it's just going for opposite scuttles. Let's do the gentleman's agreement. Won't be the case for the mid lane, though, as Jojo and Triple just keep trading.
What you tend to do as both Silas and Victor, you just fight back and forth, and typically this early lane should be Victor favored. You do have the Q, which gives you that shield, does a lot of damage, and gives you an auto attack reset, so your damage profile is very efficient early on in the game. But as we've seen plenty of times, Silas does have windows where if Triple misjudges his damage or the damage of Silas, he can just die in a lot of these situations. And now we're seeing with Diamond coming up and NXI just over the wall, there's an opportunity for counter threat onto JoJo here.
Yeah, we're going old school double jungling here. I mean, he could freely roam out. There's no problem for Diamond. And now with JoJo being so low, the dive is oh so tempting. Contracts is going to read it as well as JoJo goes straight onto NXI. NXI will get the better of that. First blood going over to Triple. NXI still underneath the tower. He got just completely blocked there. Couldn't get the pathing to work out. It's going to be a 1-for-1.
Little bit bold coming up from JoJo, but ultimately it is just a 1-for-1 contract. I like the heads up that he has to just literally body block his opponent and prevent him from walking out. He knows NXI can't ever hit him because then he'll just die to the next turret shot. So it ends up being a bit of a wash, and we have to pay attention to the fact that NXI dies and picks up only an assist, whereas JoJo dies and only picks up an assist. So we have a lot of competing opportunities. We have a lot of situations where we don't have pure symmetry on the map, and that is going to be very crucial for both teams to try and find advantages around.
I mean, this was a pretty simple setup right here. JoJo getting lower and lower, Diamond realizing that goes over with the duo jungle, but the big thing here was Contracts reading this play.
Yeah, he was just here. He was ready immediately. He jumps on the other side. Unfortunately, JoJo, he thinks he's safe. He thought he was behind these minions as he jumps on NXI. Unfortunately, goes just a little bit too far forward and gets caught by the hook. FlyQuest also already here, almost ready to be in time for the counter gank, so it might have gone a little bit better, but at the end of the day, small lead going over in favor of Evil Geniuses.
Oh, that pathing hurt me so much inside to watch, and that max range hook coming out of Diamond really gonna limit test there on Team Luke, but holy moly, that is some terrible stuff to see. Diamond is a threat, and so is JoJo as he goes right after Triple. You said it, no flash, he goes down. Contracts will grab that kill.
Trundle is not a champion we typically think of as a strong ganker, but he has really good tools against a lot of the immobile characters on the side of FlyQuest right now. Not only is there no dash for Triple, there's no dash for Kumo, but it can also knock Diamond out of his dash. Right, as Diamond goes for the Q, he pulls onto like a wall or something. One, you can put the wall in front of him so that you catch that instead of the other wall. But two, you can also interrupt him just by putting it where he is and getting that small knockup that the pillar provides and locking them down that way. So a lot of these characters are actually really vulnerable to Contracts and these potential ganks.
Yeah, that pillar has a pretty significant slow, and keep in mind it is terrain, so it's a lot to have to deal with as Evil Genius is just holding the bottom side of the map right now. Roam coming out of Diamond, headed back to his bot lane. You can see, watching very closely his Contracts. He's trying to scope out this gank, and it really does seem like NXI and Contracts are on the complete same page as they just keep hovering around the mid lane.
We're also seeing Contracts is farming a little bit slower. He's down about 2 camps up against NXI's Xin Zhao, and as he is going for, looks to be a Sunfire or potentially a Frostfire Gauntlet, he's not going to be having the same kind of damage as NXI will, who's going to be going for this Divine Sunderer later in the game, and I worry that it is going to be very limiting up against the Dr. Mundo if you don't have the Divine Sunderer to chunk down his max HP.
No, the jungler's taking some recalls. Contract's going to take us back, get a pretty good, hefty purchase there. Meanwhile, FlyQuest in control of the Dragon Pit. That's going to be completely uncontested. It's very hard to steal away a dragon from a Callista. Never mind the smite being there. NXI will grab it quite easily. Cloud Drake over to FlyQuest.
Not the most impactful thing in the world as an individual. Tony Dog has to run. Fell immune.
Oh, he's running all right. Here comes Kumo. Dr. Mundo is here. The cleaver comes out, but not willing to go for the dive just yet. Tony Top is kind of seeing why this Mundo can be such a menace.
Ultimately, though, it does not die in Tony Top. We've already seen how effective Karma can be. It is very difficult to kill a Karma due to the amount of sustain you have whenever you use your empowered W. It is going to mean that Kumo will not have that kill pressure for a little while longer, will be a little bit more susceptible to ganks. And hey, something that we didn't point out earlier, Eric, as I'm trying to decide, yeah, this fight isn't going anywhere. Kumo has Comet.
Okay, we're learning Dr. Mundo things today, Joshi.
Maybe he is first timing the champion. Maybe I'm first timing the champion. That's not something I typically see at all. Typically, you'll go like Grasp of the Undying. Every now and then, you'll see Fleet Footwork in order to get through certain matchups where you don't have the sustain.
It is against Karma, though.
I'm looking at play rates for this right now. I'm pretty sure Kumo just forgot to redo his runes, so there is nobody that's currently playing this.
I don't know, man. I'm seeing it as the big IQ player right now. He's going against the Karma. He gets the slows with the cleaver. It's free meteor smashes. Of course, it's
Fair.
hypersimplification, but, you know. We gotta justify it some way, Joshi.
I mean, it will allow him to do a little bit more poke, but I feel like it's just
Yeah, no, I agree with you
unfortunate,
completely.
right?
I'm just trying.
It's...
I'm trying to find
if I'm
something.
if I'm going Sorcery Tree, I'm going Phase Rush, right? In order to stick to targets, to run them down. The Comet is nice for some of the poke, and we'll get back to that in a second, because we do have a full-on 5v5 potentially brewing for this Rift Herald.
All the members showing up of both squads. Here comes NXI getting slowed down. Lower and lower is getting the Rift Herald. Kumo running straight down the river. 700 health remains. It's going to be picked up by FlyQuest. Now the team fight begins. Kumo standing on the front line, triple trying to get closer.
God.
And the damage is so beautiful from FlyQuest. They take down 2 of Evil Geniuses just like that. Fight all you want, try as you will. FlyQuest take that victory 3-0 in the team fight.
Wow, I worry that that's going to be the case for a while until Ezreal gets a couple items. It is very difficult to actually bring any of these targets down. You saw that Kumo still like 75% HP after that whole fight. If Kumo gets a kill with a Comet, I will be like screaming on like how crazy it is. The Kumo Comet, right?
Yeah.
The crazy tech that only Kumo knows about. But it is such a tough spot here for Evil Geniuses to actually grind down all of these members, and it's why I love teams that have Mundo as a pocket pick, even when it's not considered good, because there are just going to be compositions that your opponents run that just can't kill this champion, and you need to be able to play it in order to just pick up 3 wins.
Waiting for the Kumo Comet. That's all I have my eyes on now. I'm just waiting for him to get that one hit. Toady Top gets critically low, loses his shield. Kumo Comet kill. But in a real world, this is still a Karma versus a Mundo, and Karma can be quite the menace to have to fight through. As we do take a look at that team fight that happened earlier, it was looking okay both ways for a while, but then FlyQuest, they just turned online.
It looked okay, like they ran into this choke point, but unfortunately there's not a whole lot of AoE damage, and then Diamond turns around. He knocks up everybody in the Chaos Storm that Triple had already thrown out, and because they had no real way to turn around, they had no real comeback mechanic from that, it was all just over at that point. And the only member who had any kills on Evil Geniuses' contracts, he's on this Trundle. He's not going with an offensive build. He doesn't have the damage necessary to push through the Dr. Mundo and the Zinja.
Setting up for the gank in the bot lane. Max range hook coming out of Diamond. Beautiful. Glacial Fisher's gonna stop that, but my goodness, Diamond with these hooks as FlyQuest continue the pressure. They're going after this tower. They're going after Mystic Quest, and they're gonna be able to grab him as the True Shot Barrage goes out. Just slides by NXI. Jojo showing up towards the bot lane to try and do some defense here, but you got a lot you gotta work through. NXI dives forward, goes after Jojo, bullies him away as the Rift Herald goes down. Ka-ching! The money comes in for FlyQuest as Shally is going to get that charge, and that tower gets lower and lower. One more plate before they make their escape.
Zinjao ultimate really good for keeping him alive, but Kumo potentially trying to chase down Tony Top. There's not a lot of mana.
He's going for this. There's no mana on Tony Top, but there is the heal. There is the bait. Now Kumo is the one who's in a little bit of trouble. The auto's coming through. He's able to get some damage in, but there's going to be no kill. It's still a Mundo you're dealing with.
And at the end of the day, it looks like Evil Geniuses are going to be the ones who are actually going to be able to pick up this Mountain Dragon. This is really important, not because EG get a whole lot of extra benefit from this, but because they're making sure that FlyQuest don't get it, right? The individual dragons don't tend to matter very much, but Mountain Dragon is insanely effective across every single person at keeping you alive. And when you look at these champions like Mundo and Xin Zhao that are already going to have a fair amount of resistances built into their kit, it means that they would have been that much more difficult to take down previously. We're going to take a look at this replay once again, and this maximum range hook coming out from Diamond ends up catching FlyQuest, and it looks like they might be done for a moment until you see that Triple is coming around the corner, and he comes around, instantly splits members. FlyQuest knows doesn't have a flash, can't continue running away, and JoJo already committed. I mean, we gotta pay attention to like how strong this Xin Zhao ultimate is. If he had pretty much any other ultimate, maybe Alistar ultimate, he would have gone down here, but he stops so much damage coming in from Triple and Tomo that by the time this Ren comes through, there's just not enough damage done to him in the first place. He's able to walk away, but at the cost of the turret.
Wild play coming out of this game. FlyQuest really trying to press the momentum. I am so like kind of smitten with Diamond right now and some of the hooks he's been doing. I mean, I said earlier that this guy is very, very experienced, but to play all the way from 2012, I mean, this guy came out of Curse Academy back in the day when that was still in order. He's a very experienced player. So is Contracts as he goes right after Triple. Over the wall, gets a couple of bites in. The ultimate's ticking, but so is the health bar of Contracts as he will fall. Triple back far away enough to be able to stay safe. Now JoJo gets slain. NXI able to grab that kill as Luke runs underneath the tower and makes for his base. Tomo coming on the flank, will not be able to land the shot, but here comes the ultimate. They're determined to take down Luke as he gets hooked in, and Triple finishes off the job, getting that kill. FlyQuest 3 unanswered.
I don't know what the hell that was, Eric. He flashes a wall, hits a blast cone to go over a second wall, and the rest of his team is like, yo, you are very far. I cannot get to you right now. And it ends up being a 3-for-0 when all is said and done, right? They just give over. So, like, what is this? You don't know where anybody on the map is. You see Callista. That is it. You see where Callista is, and there are just people around the corner, right? Like, this is the kind of play that is born from super desperation. Right, you have no idea if this play is going to work out or not, and you just kind of go like, oh, it must be a 50-50. It either will or it won't. And it didn't.
Because a play like that, if it does succeed, that's a highlight reel play. It looks amazing, but the risk-reward there was questionable, to say the least.
You know, that's like going all in on, like, the 0-0 on a roulette wheel. Right? Like, you know, if you're right, like, you cash out huge, but... You know, yeah, it can. Man, oh man, I'm gonna have to rewatch that one like later on. But we'll see like how EG went to play because they were already in a pretty deep deficit, and now Triple might just get that 1-2.
Oh, but look at Triple. He's handling this tower aggro brilliantly, and Kumo shows up just in time, gives a cleaver on the way out. Going after JoJo. Now it's going to be Triple grabbing that kill, just sharing the love top mid evenly. But another play to come out of Evil Geniuses that just goes disaster.
Yeah, I feel for Tony Top. As a top lane player myself, you just kind of look at the rest of the map and be like, oh, so the only thing I've done this game was I participated in a fight around the Rift Herald, and we're losing.
Team Luke just got destroyed! Tomo, as well as Diamond, able to do the job there. Contracts now on the run. Tomo tries to get a couple more autos in to bring that Ren damage, but the health bar's too low for FlyQuest.
Oh,
they're starting to make the retreat, but
Tony.
they are pretty low for Evil Geniuses as well. Here comes the Glacial Fisher. It's going to get the knock-up onto Tomo. JoJo trying to come out from the flank. FlyQuest are going to push the momentum. Take one down and now go after JoJo, try and get what they can. JoJo gonna use the ultimate of the Xin Zhao to negate a lot of damage, puts the thumbs up, says he's gonna be all right. Is that gonna be the case though? FlyQuest, they might not even really want to chase this one, but they're gonna commit to it regardless as Como continues the hunt. throws out the cleaver, lands it onto nothing. JoJo's having a blast here, and he just might get the execute. There goes one tower shot. Kumo, here comes the cleaver, can't find it, but there is the dot damage tick. He can no longer execute. JoJo, he's on a bizarre adventure right now, and he's gonna find and escape, Joshi.
Oh my god. Alright, we get one real highlight here. JoJo on the great escape. He will survive. Oh my god, he's out. That's actually nuts that he's able to do that. Only possible on an Infernal Rift where he has access to that many blast cones back and forth and back and forth. But at the end of the day, it's going to be this Dragon going over to FlyQuest. They pick over their second, and they are currently 8,000 gold ahead of their opponents. Kumo, like, he committed his flash there, but he is still so strong at this point. JoJo, you have no HP. He uses the ultimate.
Hey, he's got a Mundo ult. That's all right. His HP instantly maxed out right there, and but no one to really help out Kumo. He gets destroyed underneath his tower. It's a response to the Dragon, but it gives money to the players who need it at the very least.
Yeah, okay, alright, well, they get something off the map, whereas we were worried that they were just going to be bleeding out everywhere across the entire rift, but it is going to be traded back rather significantly as... Which one is this? Oh, this is when Triple just, like, outplays this guy really, really hard, right? It's, again, another play coming out from Desperation. They're just looking at Triple as like, hey, maybe this is the one guy that we can outplay, but unfortunately at this point, JoJo was 0-3. He doesn't have any gold, and ends up just giving over another kill.
A Mundo teleporting is one of the most terrifying things to see. Just full speed coming at you with that movement speed boost. Absolute terror, but take a look at Team Luke right here. How fast his health bar goes down.
Bonk. Yep, just instantly gone, and look at the way that they're able to, like, reconvene. Tomo was looking to run away, but he recognizes that the rest of his team is actually winning this fight, and he wants to come in and provide the damage, and the teleport is here, but they're already so far behind. Triple is able to run over, and just the difference that they have in being able to turn this fight around, kind of what we saw in comparison to what CLG were doing earlier. This composition isn't nearly as unwieldy as a CLG one was. This one can turn around relatively quickly because Xinjiao just rockets to one side of the fight.
I thought the Observer was about to show the Great Escape all over again. I was all for it, but, you know, ending it on JoJo is also perfectly fine as well. Now FlyQuest Academy set their sights onto Baron. It is going to be spotted out. There's a ward right on the side there that's going to let Evil Geniuses know this is going on.
This isn't fast. The True Shot Barrage checks. They know it's there, and it's only just about a half, so there's a full-on contest. Both teams need to fight for this.
Diamond finds the hook, can't find much else. Step charge goes out, it's gonna get the double knockup, followed by Tomo throwing in another one. Mystic Quest making for the heals, another kill goes down. It's gonna be a trade, 2-for-1 in favor of FlyQuest though, and they want more. They're not done with just that. There is the laser, Triple picks up another one, 3 down for Evil Geniuses. You don't have to sneak the Baron anymore, you can just take it right in front of their face.
They were able to get the turnaround. They were able to kill Kumo, but ultimately it is going to be a Baron going in favor of FlyQuest at this point. Contracts might try and go for some kind of steal, right? He recognizes how far behind they were. We saw how desperate they were previously. I think he'll probably just go in and try and flash smite it because he doesn't really have any other way back into the game. He just needs to get vision.
Go trying to get closer. Teleports are coming in. Seems like Evil Geniuses want to dedicate to this. You got a teleport coming out from FlyQuest as well. Coming over the wall, the Baron is secured by FlyQuest, but the fight has still been started by Evil Geniuses. It's all going to be for naught, though, as they lose 2. Only gaining Diamond, but it's Baron in the pocket of FlyQuest.
They had to try, right? You have to try and find something in order to get anything going in this game. But they've been trying, and every single time FlyQuest is the one coming out ahead of these plays. We get a replay of the fight, and this is one of those situations where you have to decide, are you going to be turning off the Baron, or are you going to be trying to burn it down? This was a good call that they were going to be trying to turn off the Baron. They don't really care about doing the Baron, they just want to force Evil Geniuses into a fight. They get a good flank from Kumo, and from there, they will just run people down with a couple of small cool things from NXI, and it ends up resulting in 3 kills in exchange for only 1 as they take down a teamfight win and easily transition it into a Baron.
It's good stuff for FlyQuest right now. They know how much strength they have, but for Evil Geniuses, It is rough for them because you can tell once they lose, once they can't have someone like the Ezreal close enough, they just don't have the damage to be able to make it out of this. Jojo gets in, but he's stunned up right away. He's a melee mage. There's not much he can really do once the zone control is in favor of FlyQuest.
The zone control has been so good. Well, now we'll see what FlyQuest is actually able to do as they move around the rest of the map. They're going to be taking down one turret here. They have plenty of time left on this Baron buff in order to try and do a little bit more. They can back away, pick up an Infernal Dragon sometime in the next minute or so, and Evil Geniuses are really stuck. They don't have a lot of primary engage tools. They have contracts with the Pillar, and then they have Mystiques with the Glacial Fissure, looking to potentially go for some kind of catch onto individual members. The only other thing they have beyond that is Jojo can take away the depth charge coming out from Diamond, lock down individual members, and potentially try and get a fight started.
FlyQuest in the base, in the face of Evil Geniuses. They will take down that top lane inhibitor
Mystiques?
like it's no one else's business. Mystiques a little bit too far forward, and the rest of FlyQuest are starting to make their way over towards that mid lane. Here comes the flash of the diamond. He's able to bind it onto contracts before the ultimate even goes out. Kumo kills him, and now this inhibitor tower, not long for this world as Diamond goes deeper. He sets his sight on the team Luke. Tomo can't get close enough, tries to get the rend, will not be able to get the kill, gets stunned up instead. Returning fire is Team Luke. Tomo trying to back up, and he will be able to get away as Jojo hunts him down. Health bars low for FlyQuest. Diamond on the run, will get one more hook before going down, but they're getting lower and lower for Evil Geniuses as Triple and NXI bring the pain. Knocking at the door of Evil Geniuses. FlyQuest are going to be able to close out this game 24 minutes in.
Man, this game feels like it's been a lot longer than 24 minutes, but they are going to be losing one Nexus turret, potentially losing another one. And he just came back. He's almost dead again.
Oh, NXI getting really low as well, but that Nexus tower will fall. Now the Nexus is completely exposed. Will they be able to grab it? The respawn timers are ticking lower and lower now. It almost seems like they don't have the damage, but they do when they take down Team Luke. So down goes the Nexus, a victory for FlyQuest.
10 kills, 10 assists. I mean, if Triple had 10 deaths, he would kind of live up to his name with a triple crown, but he is going to be very happy with the end result of that. Just under 25 minutes, FlyQuest take down Evil Geniuses, and man, I feel really good for FlyQuest, right? Because they were able to turn every single desperate play from Evil Geniuses on its head, but you also have to question, did Evil Geniuses have to make a lot of those plays? And I think the answer is pretty simply no.
I honestly questioned their draft a little bit more than anything because, as I was saying, even though Jojo can go in, the amount of zone control you have from the composition of FlyQuest is disgusting, just with the gravitational field alone. That only really leaves the Ezreal on the back to try and do all the damage, but you still need quite a bit of income to be able to do well with that champion. Only having just one source of damage there for the later fights was painful for Evil Geniuses. They really couldn't do too much there, and on that note, we are going to throw it over to short break. When we return, we'll get into game number 2 and see if Evil Geniuses can shape up in this matchup against FlyQuest.